Welcome back to Normal Island. I'm, of course, Curtis Daly, and some of you already know, but I'm joined by the one and only Kevin Logan. Kevin, how are we?
I'm glad there's only one of me. The world couldn't take two.
Well, statistically speaking, there probably is going to be more than one of you.
There are actually lots and lots of. It's a
I
very
feel like
common name. Yeah,
I could go on Facebook and type in Kevin Logan. I'll find at least
I'm
17
literally
people.
in a group called the Kevin Logans of the World Unite, and so
Oh,
every day on Facebook I get a notification saying Kevin Logan's birthday today.
well, I mean, happy birthday for Kevin Logan, whoever one it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, Great. Well, that's a great intro. I like that one. That's gonna be clipped. Now let's get on with the show for you guys. Coming up tonight, the Labour right are already attacking Andy Burnham. Labour angers literally everyone with their authoritarian ID cards, and war criminal Tony Blair wants to control Gaza. Of course, if you're not a subscriber, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell. Like the stream, as of course helps with the algorithm. And as always, we'll be getting to your comments at the end. But let's go on to our first story. So, as you would have heard from reports, Andy Burnham has been secretly urged by some Labour MPs to return to Westminster politics in order to eventually challenge Keir Starmer's Labour leadership. Now, he needs to be an MP first, and I don't know if there's any safe seats left for Labour. But the right wing of the party, and actually, I don't know if that's an accurate term to say anymore, because that suggests there's a left wing faction. I mean, that's pretty much long gone. So the Starmer faction have already attacked Burnham. Arch Blairite and Corbyn hater Neil Coyle said, "Not me. The annual Burnham wants to be leader headlines just before conference are more grating this year. He didn't take on the guy who oversaw Labour's worst defeat in a century and facilitated anti-Semitism, but pops up now under a huge majority and with 4 years to go. No tar." So there we go with the bogus anti-Semitism accusations, once again making the rubbish claim that Jeremy Corbyn facilitated it. He is now attacking Burnham by proxy because he didn't join in on the Zionist attacks. Now, Burnham, for many political disagreements I have with him, I mean, he was loyal. He didn't engage in the backstabbing of Jeremy Corbyn. He actually wanted a Labour government, unlike many in the party. Now, according to HuffPost journalist Kevin Schofield, he tweeted this: "Currently doing the rounds in Labour WhatsApp groups, and as you can see, it's a photoshopped image of Burnham and Truss merged together." Now, this is the use of client journalists, by the way. Coward snakes that are Labour MPs won't say it with their chest, right? They'd rather send messages like this to their favourite journalists to share about. It's really, really pathetic stuff. Now, Keir Starmer has also joined in on the attacks. According to Christopher Hope, gloves now off in Starmer v Burnham. Sir Keir, speaking to ITV Granada, said he would not get drawn into commenting on the mayor's personal ambitions, but added, "I do want to be really clear about our fiscal rules, because economic stability is the foundation stone of this government. It was 3 years ago this week that Liz Truss showed what happens if you abandon fiscal rules. In her case, she did that for tax cuts, but the same would happen if it was spending. And yes, we saw what happened to working people 3 years ago, the infliction of harm on them." So that's Starmer effectively calling Burnham Liz Truss. I mean, Labour need to get better at their insults. They call everyone they disagree with Liz Truss. It's utterly embarrassing. Also, it's a shameful lie. I mean, he's trying to compare Truss for giving tax breaks away to her wealthy mates, comparing that with long-term investment. Now, the fiscal rules are made-up garbage. It's neoliberal and Thatcherite nonsense. Now, Andy Burnham spoke to The Telegraph about building a different kind of economy. Mr. Burnham laid out the building blocks of a tax and spend manifesto that would be more radical than anything Sir Keir Starmer's government has yet proposed. He said, "We overtax labour, people's work, and we undertax people's assets." Mr. Burnham would like to make the owners of valuable homes in the South pay more tax. He said that leaving the council tax system as it would not be an acceptable response when you live here in the real world, where councils are now really struggling. Mr. Burnham added There are people in homes in London that are worth double figure millions paying less council tax than people here. It's just not justifiable. The Manchester mayor also wants to take action to stop developers sitting on land. He said, I'm personally a big supporter of land value taxation. Now, I really, really like this. The left is moving the debate on taxes. We've been talking about wealth taxes, targeting passive income from assets, targeting unproductiveness in our economy. People are getting rich by adding zero social value. Tax wealth, not work. So we are shifting the debates where it's now been picked up by centre-left figures such as Andy Burnham. Now, this tweet from Tom Tague, summarising Burnham's thinking on the economy, is really interesting. Burnham believes there are two core reasons we're so vulnerable to bond markets. One, we've lost control of public spending through privatisation. Two, first past the post creates fragile governments unable to reform the system. So, fix both to end Britain's structural vulnerability, not ignore it. And that's exactly what Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer is doing. They're ignoring all of it. They're ignoring privatisation. They're just going ahead with it. So this is a very good point. First past the post is unstable, despite the fact that this voting system was justified by many that, it created stable governments. That's no longer true. And secondly, he is bang on about privatisation. It's a rip-off. The Treasury is literally spending more money paying back the debts of PFI. But crucially, private investment isn't stable. When we give everything away through private contracts, we have to trust that the private sector will adequately invest. But that doesn't often happen because the priority for companies is to keep their shareholders happy, not the public. State-led investment is predictable. It's much more stable. Now, Burnham isn't even on the radical left. He is traditionally the soft or centre-left wing of the Labour Party. Yet Starmer's team will happily attack him because ultimately the Blairites, the Morgan McSweeneys of the party, are hyper-factional. They are a right-wing clique. They are terrible people. Terrible, nasty, clueless, uninspiring, and incompetent. And they're also deeply unpopular. So look at the polling. Labour are doing abysmally, yet a hypothetical poll with Andy Burnham as leader has Labour back in pole position. More in Common found Reform on 28% to Labour on 25%. Burnham as leader, Labour on top with 30%, and Reform are still on 28%. So do you see Reform swing it to Labour? No, not at all. They stay exactly still, but left-wing parties drop. It's as if it confirms everything we've been saying, that Labour moving right hurts them, but moving left, they may win back voters who left them for the Greens and the Lib Dems. Kevin, Andy Burnham is talking about policies such as higher taxes on the rich, nationalisation, which most people support. He's also much more popular, yet the Labour machine want to shut him out. Do you think that Starmer and his team would much rather lose the next election and give it to Reform than allow the party to move to the left?
Oh, absolutely, yes. The petulant, spiteful, and childish response that we've seen from Starmer et al. And their client journalists, as you rightly point out, shows how absolutely unfit they are for office, first and foremost, and how completely out of their depth they are. They are currently so far behind in the polling that some of the seat projections have them in third place. They wouldn't even be the official opposition for the first time in a century. Think about that. That is historic levels of unpopularity. Way worse than the supposedly worst result ever of 2019. But yeah, like you point out, they clearly are so unbelievably factional that they would rather see the Labour Party die than their own faction lose out in any way whatsoever. And I was thinking about this today, and it goes beyond just Starmerism needing to die. And this will be sort of repeated throughout this show because of the other two stories. Blairism needs to die. And that's fundamentally the problem here, is that what we have is reheated Blairism. We have a 20th century policy prescription for a now mid-21st century situation. And they don't really seem to care about that. When you just outsource your policy making to a dinosaur war criminal, this is the nonsense you end up with, you know? Starmerism, like I say, really needs to die. first and foremost. Whether Andy Burnham is necessarily the solution to this, I have my doubts. But given the kind of petty, small-minded cliqueism of the likes of McFadden and McSweeney, I'm actually just perfectly on board with Burnham going for it. Like, I don't necessarily like him or necessarily want him to be prime minister, but he has so much more of a grasp of the situation, so much more in touch with reality than Keir Starmer is, that I'm happy to go with it, at least for the time being. I don't think he's the answer to the problems, but he's at least has some grasp that there is a problem, rather than just tootling along pretending like it's absolutely fine. Because unfortunately, Tony Blair never really left office, and that needs to cease immediately. Now, as to your point about whether Burnham could necessarily get a Labour seat because there aren't any safe Labour seats, that's basically true. In most parts of the country, there are no safe Labour seats anymore, including the Prime Minister's own seat in Holborn and St Pancras in London. But if there's one place and one person that I think could definitely, absolutely run an election, even at this time with Labour so badly in the polls, it's in Manchester with Andy Burnham. So if he could get one of the Manchester MPs to step aside, Andy Burnham's a very popular man in Manchester. He's been a very popular mayor, and Labour traditionally do very well in Manchester. So they're certainly, I think, more amenable to a more left-wing leader potentially going down to London with the North's interests at heart, and potentially usurping the London clique of technocratic madmen who have taken over the party. So I think he could do it. I think he definitely could do it. It's whether the Starmerite blade wielders, metaphorically speaking, are able to sort of kill him with 1,000 cuts before any of that takes place, or whether he even has the kind of the gumption to do it. Because ultimately, he's not really a left winger. He doesn't really seem to have that much fight in him. What he is a kind of Blairite who realised that Blairism doesn't really work anymore, and that's something. Yellow.
I mean, even though it's unlikely that Burnham becomes leader, I said he needs to win a seat first. Manchester's probably the only place he could. I mean, do you think the interjection can help move the Overton window left? So even if he doesn't get leader, doesn't get a seat, just having these discussions, will that move it to the left? Or do you think actually the media will talk about this for a while and then just move on?
Well, I think undoubtedly it moves things to the left. What we've seen is with the constant rightward drift is because the Reform Party have pulled the Tory Party that way, Brexit pulled the country to a certain degree that way, and so the Labour Party have followed suit. And we haven't really had a left-wing pushback to that. We've seen that with, I think, Zach Polanski being elected as the leader of the Green Party and eating into Labour's vote has definitely made them consider left-wing voters a little more, not necessarily massively so. But if you have this insurgency from a traditionally left-leaning city and a policy platform from Andy Burnham, one thing that the Labour Party will have to do is react to that. You can't just pretend and do silly think tank memes to your client journalists. You have to actually respond to that. And so what we've seen with the rightward pull of the popularity of people like Nigel Farage, I think you will definitely see a leftward pull with the popularity of the Green Party rising and their membership rising, and indeed the Left Party, or your party or whatever, which has not got off to a great start, but it definitely has the potential to become a significant force on the left, again dragging votes away from Labour Party. And this insurgency from Manchester, that we have essentially three big strings that we can pull the Labour Party left with. Now, I don't expect them to be any good, but at the very least, if it can stop some of the excesses, like we're about to see with the second story in a second, of the Labour Party and their awful right-wing policy prescriptions, that will be for the betterment of the country, and hopefully buy some amount of time for a proper left-wing alternative to be developed.
If this was a scenario that was plausible, would you like to see that happen? Would you like Andy Burnham to be the leader? Or do you think that actually Andy Burnham being leader may save the Labour Party, but a lot of us are fed up with it? Because I think for me, I'll let you answer, but for me, I think in terms of overall politics and the Overton window, Andy Burnham would be good as Labour leader. Like, it'd be good for politics. But at the same time, you're undoubtedly going to see some of the votes in the Green Party may go back to Labour. Polling shows that. And I'm also kind of thinking, well, actually, Labour have had their chance to do that. I want the smaller parties to do well. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's good? It may be good for national politics, but it's a short-term thing because it could be at the cost of smaller parties.
Well, I mean, this is sort of the conundrum we have with electoral politics in general, is that all of the parties, even like, I mean, I'm a member of the Green Party, and I think they're the better of any of
Yeah,
the parties available. But even they, at their best, are still a sticking plaster. Ultimately, what you actually need is socialism, and they're not actually a socialist party;
yeah,
they're social democratic, right? But that's a significant step forward from the current situation we find ourselves in. And so, if we're going to engage in electoral politics and we think that's worthwhile, then the best you can realistically do is a certain amount of incrementalism for the time being, whilst you try and develop, dual systems of power and all of that sort of thing. So ultimately, do I prefer Andy Burnham to become the Prime Minister over Keir Starmer? Frankly, the reheated corpse of Tony Benn would be preferable to Keir Starmer. Nobody would be preferable to Keir Starmer. It wouldn't make any difference. They would be just as charismatic if it was literally no person. So, yes, I think Andy Burnham would be a better choice. Now, always be wary of a former Blairite offering you nice things before an election. Now, whether he would actually follow through with that, whether the party establishment would allow him to follow through with that, whether the bureaucracy of the nation would allow him to follow through with any of those things is a different story. But at least if he tries, I'll give him some credit on that. And I think it will have been a worthwhile experiment. If only for the reason that if he does implement some kind of leftist platform, even if it's just a kind of very, very milquetoast one, and is successful in rejuvenating the popularity of the Labour Party, even just a little bit, what that shows is that actually that kind of policy platform is potentially successful in a way that we haven't seen, because ultimately what has worked for the Labour Party is Blairism, right? Blair got elected in 97 and 2001 and 2005. His heir, as it were, got elected in 2024. That's the only success that within living memory, pretty much, the Labour Party has known. And so to have a countervailing narrative where a left-wing progressive platform and a decent platform where, maybe they push back a little bit against the genocide and maybe they nationalise one or two things and, maybe, don't go so hard on the authoritarian technocratic nonsense and are successful in doing so, provides that example of, oh, actually, this is successful, this can work, and that can only be for the good of the left within that electoral system. Again, it's never going to be the solution to the problem because the system is set up to deny us that solution. What we need is to work beyond that system as well. But for the time being, Andy Burnham is undoubtedly an infinitely better prospect than Keir Starmer, who's just like, honestly, I think he's the worst prime minister outside of maybe Thatcher, who was just inside my lifetime of my lifetime.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't ever put Starmer as the worst because first he can go lower, he can do worse.
Oh no, well that's what I'm factoring that in. I expect him to go lower. Yes.
He will go lower, but
Yeah.
I think Thatcher to me always will be the worst.
Yeah,
I
I think so.
always think though that like no matter some of the good economic policies Blair does, Iraq always does it for me.
Exactly,
but then again, Keir Starmer's facilitating a genocide. So
Yeah.
even on foreign policy, that's hard to choose. Me personally, I don't want to see Andy Burnham nowhere near Westminster. I think he's far superior when he's outside the Westminster bubble. I think he's a very good Manchester mayor. Whereas he is someone who I think I wouldn't consider him a Blairite. He was someone who was loyal to whoever leader
He was a Blairite, right? Undoubtedly. Yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
But I think he's sincere.
But I think he has changed. I think his lived experience of running the city of Manchester and doing so very effectively and doing so in the interests of the people of Manchester in a way that wasn't the Blairite kind of mould,
Well,
I think has definitely changed him, and that's for the better.
Yeah, I think right now. I think he's sincere, as in like I don't think he's a Blairite who's pretending. I think he is sincere. But the problem I've always found with Andy Burnham versus someone like Jeremy Corbyn, which is why I always would have voted Corbyn over Burnham in 2015 as leader, is that I knew that Jeremy Corbyn was very principally on the left, whereas Burnham, again, has kind of sort of gone to and from, and like at the end of the day, power corrupts, and I don't like Jeremy Corbyn wouldn't have given into power. He wouldn't have capitulated. Whereas I could see Burnham doing that. Remember, like in 2015, he was still arguing for austerity. So he's outside the Westminster bubble. He has more of a free reign. He can do good stuff. If he were to get a seat and become leader again, all the things he's saying in the media right now could just be thrown out.
True.
So,
And I think you're right to a certain extent. I remember the words of Ken Livingstone, who said he'd spent 20 years as a backbencher and achieved nothing. He achieved more in his first month as mayor of London. You can get things done as a mayor in a
yeah,
way that you sort of can't from the sidelines, you know.
it's a dirty game in Westminster, absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's move on to a second story of the evening. Keir Starmer has officially made himself the most unifying figure in the UK. The left, right, and centre are all against this government's proposed ID digital card that is set to be launched soon. So Keir Starmer has unveiled a plan for a digital ID scheme after admitting Labour had previously shied away from addressing immigration concerns. It would require anyone starting a job or renting a home to show it on their phone, which would then be checked against a database of those entitled to work and live here. The plan sees digital IDs becoming mandatory for the right to work by the end of this Parliament. The Prime Minister wrote in the Daily Telegraph today that it was now essential to tackle every aspect of the problem of illegal immigration. Starmer has already been criticised by claiming this would tackle illegal immigration because it won't work. Those who are illegally working, the employer knows that. They do it on purpose to undercut wages. Many employers are looking the other way. What we could do is allow asylum seekers to work so they can stand on their own 2 feet, and that immediately ends the exploitation. It feels similar to the drug war. You know, you can do all these policies to try and end the drug war. You could just legalize it. So we could just allow asylum seekers to work. Now, Starmer was initially against the idea, but was convinced by French President Emmanuel Macron. Emmanuel Macron has repeatedly warned that the lack of ID cards acts as a major pull for channel crossings as migrants feel they can find work in the black economy. This has to be the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Those coming here won't know this, and even if they did, it's not going to stop them. The 2 biggest reasons why asylum seekers choose this country is family and language. The influx of refugees also happened after Brexit. Now, the Labour Party lied to us about ID cards, as this was, in fact, a U-turn. Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper previously said the government would not be introducing the cards in July 2024. She said, that's not our approach. And now Chief Whip Jonathan Reynolds said at the same time, we can rule that out. That's not something that's part of our plans. Well, clearly they were lying, weren't they? So why is it happening? Well, because it's an old Blairite idea that just won't die. They have wanted this for decades. Former Prime Minister Sir Tony has long been an advocate of ID cards and also tried to get a scheme off the ground when he was in charge. Those proposals were scrapped after Labour lost power in 2010, having been opposed by the Liberal Democrats and the Tories at the time. Now, there's been no transparency on who's going to hold the data. Will it be Palantir or other private corporations? This is government overreach dressed up as tackling illegal immigration. Blairism has been an authoritarian project, and Keir Starmer is the same. It's about power, and once they introduce it, successive governments will build on that legislation, adding more and more state control. Now, despite doing so badly in the polls, Labour are addicted to enacting unpopular policies. They've been attacked right across the political spectrum. Jeremy Corbyn said, I firmly oppose the government's plans for compulsory digital ID cards. This is an affront to our civil liberties and will make the lives of minorities even more difficult and dangerous. It is excessive state interference and must be resisted. Zach Balansky tweeted, everyone, what's government doing about the cost of living crisis, the climate crisis, and the unfolding genocide in Gaza? Labour, we will mandate people carry Brit cards. This government's priorities are painfully out of touch and increasingly authoritarian. Nigel Farage also took to Twitter and he said, I am firmly opposed to Keir Starmer's digital ID cards. It will make no difference to illegal immigration, but it will be used to control and penalise the rest of us. The state should never have this much power. This from Kemi Badenoch. Labour's digital ID gimmick won't stop the boats. It's a desperate distraction from their scandals. We won't back any system that makes ID mandatory for British citizens. Only Conservatives have a real plan to secure our borders. And then she points to a link, stopthedigitalaid.com. The Liberal Democrats, they posted, Liberal Democrats cannot support mandatory digital IDs. People shouldn't be criminalised just because they want to hand over their private data. So this is what we know specifically about digital ID. The do-knows and don't-knows of compulsory digital ID. Do know it will carry your name, date of birth, nationality, residency status, and a photo. You won't need to carry a physical card. You'll only be asked for it when providing your right to work in the UK. It will live on your phone, working like a contactless card. It will be compulsory for anyone wanting to work in the UK. Don't know when it will launch, whether it will also include your address, still under consultation, what the fallback is for people without smartphones. And they've already said, the government, by the way, have said that you don't need to show it when you're trying to get a job, trying to apply for work. And my question is, if we don't need to show it, then why have it? Right? I don't like the idea of having an app on my phone that has my data being collected and the government hasn't confirmed where it's going to go, which company's going to own it. Now, this will give the government power to take away services such as healthcare. This was admitted by Labour MP Joe White.
French have already said that the pull factor in this country is that people can get a job without having to show ID, and therefore it has opened the door far too easily to legal working. And so we need to disincentivise people coming to this country. Having a requirement to show an ID card at that point of employment is a critical way to stop that trail of people coming across into the UK. That's a number one reason. But access to public services, for example, if a French person comes into this country and they can access the NHS if they're ill, and there's no payment system. But if we have to show an ID card, we can actually show that we're entitled to use the NHS.
Now, according to the Refugee Convention, anyone should be allowed to use the NHS. It's free at the point of use, so it doesn't matter if you're a citizen or an asylum seeker. Healthcare is a human right, and we need more politicians defending that. But future governments have the power to take it away. It's seriously dangerous. And if you think it's going to end at asylum seekers and immigrants, I think again. Now, these two memes made me laugh, as it does sum up the right wing's view on this. So what you've got on the left is a libertarian nightmare, and it's got drones. I think it's a drone or spy plane. You got a camera, and underneath is a libertarian paradise with USA Inc. Libertarians on the right, tyranny.gov, don't like it, tyranny.com. I do love that, because I think the left are consistent when it comes to authoritarianism, whereas the right are like, the government does it, it must be bad, but they do not care if private corporations have all of our information or data or control all the aspects of our life. Now, authoritarianism doesn't mean when governments do stuff and that's it. It means when power is used over you. We see our data being taken every single day from corporations. They are used to sell products back to us or sell it to the government to attack our civil liberties. Now, some have said, why are people up in arms when the government does this? Well, if this one thing is wrong, you shouldn't support it when it's the government. Two wrongs don't make a right. I mean, I saw Paul Meeson say, well, I use my thumbprint to get onto my iPhone and all these companies take all your data. And like, yeah, that's not a good thing. Right? We should oppose digital ID and also support the government to rein in the power of corporations. Kevin, why do you think this government has announced such an unpopular policy at a time when they themselves are so unpopular?
Well, this is what happens when you outsource policy making to the Tony Blair Institute. This is exactly where it ends up. We've literally got the zombie politician that just refuses to go away. We've got what? Supporting genocide in the deserts of Arabia? Check. Political malfeasance and financial corruption? Check. ID cards, check. Peter Mandelson being kicked out of the government, check. It's just a reheat of Blairism all over again. It's so infuriating because literally everything they announce, every major announcement they have, it's almost like it's a political experiment in trying to form the most advantageous for Nigel Farage policy prescription for everything, for absolutely everything. It's almost like Nigel Farage is writing their policies for them in order to advantage his own political career, because it's just driving people into his arms. Honestly, they are creating a coalition of potentially very disparate political forces from left and right and the kind of libertarian or more old school socialist people or whatever, who despise this. They just absolutely hate it because A, they know it won't actually help with immigration in any way whatsoever, and B, it's obviously just a power grab in the same way that it was when Blair tried to do it 20 years ago. It's so obvious. And like Nigel Farage, if he just goes into the next election promising to scrap this, he wins in a landslide. It's automatic that he will win, assuming that something crazy doesn't happen, like he gets, I don't know, outed on the Epstein lists or something crazy like that. Whoever knows? Although he might get a job in the Labour Party, who knows? But outside of something crazy like that, he will absolutely win in a landslide because he's being given votes every time Keir Starmer announces a thing. He keeps giving them votes. The political acumen of Morgan McSweeney and the Labour Together crowd has been vastly, vastly overestimated by the media class because all they looked at was the raw numbers. Oh, he won a landslide. Yeah, but that's because the Tory party committed Harry Carey in front of the nation.
Do you know
that's the only reason. It's nothing to do with him or his strategy or anything like that. Also, the fact that he was convinced by Macron, a man who is even less popular in France than he is here. Look, what are you doing?
Brain rot.
What? Honest to God, it's ridiculous. And why would you trust a government who just had to admit, and technically this was under the Tories, but the same bureaucracy is in place, that they gave information about people escaping the Taliban to the Taliban? Why would you want them to have any more of your information? This is madness.
I tell you what, I found it really, really funny that John McTernan said, I want to make the political divide between Labour and Reform on ID cards. And I'm like, this is insane. This just shows how inept these communicators are. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. If Nigel Farage runs on, I'm going to scrap it from day one, that is a huge bump in the polls. This is the thing. This is what the Labour Party should be drawing ideological lines on. Not on ID cards, right? But on working class power. It's very simple, and this is what the left has taken the mantle of, which is Nigel Farage and the other political parties stand on the side of big business and billionaires, and the left stands on the side of the 99%. So yes, you should create a wedge issue between one party and another, not on competency. But John McTernan saying do it on ID cards is wild to me.
They're so disconnected from reality, honestly. This has to be the death of Keir Starmer's prime ministership. It has to be. If the Labour Party have any hope of achieving just salvation, just surviving past 2029, this has to be the end of him. Because his political antennae are so broken that this is what he thought was a good idea. Now, to be fair, it has definitely distracted people from the fact that he had Anansi's best friend as the ambassador to America, and of course knew all about that, and of course the financial corruption, etc., etc. But what it's done is arguably worse, because now everyone hates him for another reason. You've just given another reason for people never, ever to vote for you again. The Labour Party, if they've got any sense, have to kill whatever bill this gets put into instantly. Not just like, oh, it's so second reading, third reading. No, kill it dead from the very beginning and get rid of Keir Starmer. Otherwise, it's over for them.
I know there's a petition. Do not introduce ID cards. 1.3 million. So 1,362,181 signatures to scrap the ID card. Yeah. I want to ask you, though, I mean, what's your view on those who say, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just an easier and more efficient way to put all of your information together in one place. What do you say to those who because this is, we are unified, left, centre, right, are pretty much unified against this, but there have been some people on the left as well, have said it's not that much of a big deal.
Well, for those people, firstly, God bless you. You are some of the most naive summer children I've ever encountered. I will just point out to you that we have seen the government vastly misuse powers under terrorism legislation, which we were promised would only ever be used against the scary brown people, not the nice middle class white people. Honest. And it has been used against everyone because that's what governments do. There is always, always, always mission creep with every piece of power you give them. Every piece of power ceded to Westminster is always abused somewhere down the line. Because even if Keir Starmer has no interest or no intent to misuse this political power, who knows who comes after him? Does Nigel Farage intend to misuse this power? What about if it's someone even worse than him that comes along later? This is why you have to absolutely clamp down on any power grabs by authority, because they will always misuse it. We've seen that conclusively in the way that they've abused the terrorism legislation. That means that spray painting an airplane now makes you on the same level as Boko Haram. If you think that that same government will not totally, they won't misuse your information to take away certain privileges from society, maybe healthcare, maybe employment rights, maybe benefits, who knows? It's an absolute lottery. This is ridiculous. It's obviously authoritarian, will be misused at some point in the future if it's allowed to get off the ground. So please, get your heads out of your backsides and see the reality of this for what it is. This is such a dangerous possibility. Please, for the love of God, stop pretending like, oh, well, I don't have anything to hide. Well, so what? People who were in Extinction Rebellion didn't have anything to hide. They were still called terrorists. People who were conspiring to cause public nuisance got 4 years in jail under terrorism legislation. Don't think it won't be used against you, because they'll come for you as soon as it's convenient.
I saw a really good tweet. I can't remember who said it, so I can't credit them. It was a brilliant tweet, and they said, if you're happy for your civil liberties to be given up because, I've got nothing to hide, you shouldn't own curtains. And I thought that was brilliant, right? I mean, I've got curtains. Does it mean I've got something to hide? No, I would like some privacy. I think, look, if anyone's watching who's on the fence on this, I mean, I think it's very clear where we stand on this, but allow me to say two things. One, the first thing is, this is absolutely the Tony Blair Institute. Yeah. Actually, I found out today that Larry Ellison, the second richest man in the world, has pumped hundreds of millions of pounds into the Tony Blair Institute. Like, why would you do that? He owns Oracle, which is a software which collects data. One of my previous jobs used Oracle for payroll and stuff. The idea that there's not going to be a link there is obviously ridiculous. This data is going to be sold to private companies. But even if we have this policy come in and it's all owned by the government, it's not sold to private companies in the next 4 years, it's still a bad policy because you don't know what successive governments are going to do. Exactly. Once you open that door, it's very difficult to close. And it could even be, by the way, that reform get in. And by the way, them saying we're against ID cards. Once it's introduced, right, do you think they can have any problem using government overreach to shut down left-wing organisations and protests? I mean, they won't think twice. I mean, the Labour Party's doing it with Just Stop Oil. I mean, they got 5 years in prison each for a Zoom call. When it comes to Palestine Action, you can't even hold up a fucking sign without getting arrested. What, 90-year-old women who are getting carried to the back of police vans? Don't think that Nigel Farage, who was very good friends with Donald Trump, who, as we know, Donald Trump is, in my opinion, leading a fascist government, clamping down on dissent, that Farage and Reform won't do this either. Even when they say right now, we're against ID cards, it's very different before it's implemented. Once it's implemented and then a political party gets the power and goes, wow, we've got even more power, do you think they're going to vote to end their own power? No, they're going to use it. So that's why I think it's really important. I think there's a lot of people say, and Paul Mason said it, oh, it's not a big deal. It's just an efficient way of putting things on your phone. I just think it's naive to think that. But also, on a practical level, a lot of older people don't have phones. Yeah. Or something might happen to your phone. Like, this is going to shut out a lot of people anyway.
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, none of the arguments for this work. It won't help with migration in the slightest, because again, people who are undocumented will just have one document extra that they also won't have. This won't change anything. The black economy, as mentioned by Macron there, will still exist, and this won't alter it in the slightest. There is no good argument for it. There are lots and lots of very good practical and ethical concerns against it, I see no reason why this could possibly pass. There is no defending of this. And then the ghoulishness of Labour MPs to go out and be like, yeah, maybe we could just like cut off healthcare to people. Yes, I do. They're brown, so what does it matter? They're foreign. Who cares? We should just maybe doctors just let black people bleed out in the streets. Who cares? You know, they're foreign, so it doesn't matter anymore. Honestly, this government need to go away. I nearly broke terms of service very badly there.
Yeah, we don't want to do that. No, thank you very much for your comments there. We're going to move on. But before we go on to our last story, just like to remind our viewers that we are 5 volunteers keeping this ship going. We do this around our paid jobs. Our goal is to become full-time, meaning we can increase our content, be far more ambitious, and build a sustainable left-wing alternative. Now, your help has made so much of a difference already, from equipment to covering rallies and interviews. Your support means everything. Now, we rely on small donations, so if you want to be part of a media organisation that seeks to destroy the oligarchs, then please head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/supports. There you can support us monthly on Patreon, or there is a link for a one-time contribution. You can also become a YouTube member for just 99p. Also, this Monday, Turn Left will be covering the Labour Party conference live from Liverpool. We are partnering up with Your Show. If you don't know what that is, it's a show that brings together multiple different independent media organisations that are working together to bring an alternative to the media coverage of the conference. The show will be broadcasting all day Monday and Tuesday. Now, for us, we will go live on Monday at 10 past 8, till 9 p.m. for a special Normal Ireland Live presented by myself. For more information, go to yourshow.uk. On to our final story. Tony Blair, or his official title, man who is a war criminal and should be in The Hague, has had the backing of the US for him to lead a temporary authority in Gaza. Yes, the man who killed 500,000 people with lies about WMD in Iraq could potentially have control of Gaza, which is currently being levelled by Israel. The plans could see Blair head a body named the Gaza International Transitional Authority, according to reports in The Economist. It would seek a UN mandate to be Gaza's supreme political and legal authority for 5 years. The plan would be modelled on the international administrations that oversaw East Timor and Kosovo's transitions to statehood. It would initially be based in Egypt near Gaza's southern border before entering Gaza once the strip is stable, alongside a multinational force. Now, does anyone really believe that A, Blair will hand back power to the Palestinians after 5 years, and B, think their lives will be more safe under his watch? According to Israeli media, an international force will be stationed across Gaza's borders to prevent the regrouping of Hamas. A source told Haaretz that the plan is taking shape and has the full support of US President Donald Trump, with Israeli officials not rejecting it yet. Right now, Palestine isn't a state, and Hamas is their only armed resistance they have. So trying to remove Hamas's power, even though it's a group in which I don't endorse, means this will give more power to Israel. But not only that, Blair and his team tried to weaken the Palestinian Authority. There is concern that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu... Do we have that graphic? Sorry. Yeah, Mason, sorry. There is concern that Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu will take advantage of this ambiguity to sabotage the PA's involvement in Gaza, the source continued. Diplomats have said his role is being considered, but is not a done deal, according to the BBC. The Blair plan is said to be anchored on the dismantling of Hamas and a diminished role for the PA. This was roundly rejected by Hamas officials, who previously told The Independent they had not seen the proposal. So it's one thing to say they want to see Hamas defeated, but Blair's plan to try and remove power from PA. I mean, this very much looks like the West intervening to try and completely take control of Gaza, and given our complete backing of Israel, how do we know this isn't just finishing off Israel's plan, but done through different means? Kevin, what's your thoughts on the US backing Blair's plan for taking control of Gaza?
Wow, my favourite hopefully, fingers crossed, future Hague a defendant, Tony Blair, the war criminal par excellence. Not only he's not content with just destroying Afghanistan and just destroying Iraq and just destroying Syria and just destroying Libya. No, he's now coming for Palestine as well. Because be under no illusion, this isn't just a thing that he personally is doing. His organisation, the Tony Blair Institute, were in a story a couple of months ago where they were in WhatsApp groups with members of the Trump administration planning the ethnic cleansing of the Gaza Strip. Be under no illusions, that is precisely what he and his organisation intend to do on behalf of Israel. He is a Zionist after all. This is their plan. The idea that the newly appointed emir of Palestine will have any legitimacy amongst the Palestinian people is ridiculous. It's a joke. It's an embarrassment. It's even more embarrassing than when they made him the what was it, the agent of peace or whatever absurd title they gave him after he'd bombed the hell out of Iraq, of course. A Middle East peace envoy was the phrase, wasn't it? Nonsense back then. It's even worse now. It's a spit in the face to people who are undergoing a genocide, of course. And it's yet another Muslim majority country being messed with by Western imperialist forces. It's no wonder so many in the Arab world consider this to be West versus East, because how can they see it as anything else? What country in Arabia hasn't been destroyed, bombed to ruins by Western forces in recent times? Oh, the ones who you can buy oil from, I suppose. Saudi Arabia, that's about it. Absolutely ridiculous stuff. The problem, of course, and when will the West ever learn this, that one of the push factors of migration, for instance, is the fact that we keep bombing these places, the fact that we keep destroying them. They have to go somewhere, those people, and they will turn up in places where, politically they can be awkward. So just on the kind of the wrapping it up with the second story, one thing that would actually help with reducing the number of people wanting to emigrate is if you don't destroy their countries, for instance. But when will the West ever learn its lesson? Imperialism doesn't work out well. You might gain a small geostrategic advantage in the short term, but you create monsters that you can't control. You will see negative repercussions further down the line in years to come that you can't predict and you definitely can't control. Whether it's going into Afghanistan in the 80s, which creates Al Qaeda and the Taliban, which is still an open sore upon the world. This will create huge problems further down the line, which we can't predict. But unfortunately, lots of innocent people will see the sharp end of that. Unfortunately, Tony Blair won't be one of them.
Yeah, and it's interesting that this is US backed because Trump was saying he wants it to be the Riviera, or Gaza to be the Riviera, or Riviera Gaza, whatever phrase he used. He basically wants to turn it into some big modern Western state that's controlled by.
Well, he's now come out and said he won't allow them to annex the Gaza
that's a
Strip.
lie. That's
it's a lie, and it's just again Trump's flip flopping. He just basically says that he repeats the thing that the last person that he spoke to said. That's it. He just has the opinion of the last intelligent, authoritative sounding person said to him, which is why he comes out of a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky and says, Ukraine can have everything. Whoopah, wonderful. They can have all of the land back and it'll be perfectly fine and normal. And then he comes out of a meeting with, a Russian and says, oh, actually, no, they're going to have to give up loads of land.
Yeah.
Look, it's a quicksand. You can't do a deal with Trump because tomorrow it'll be completely different. He's a joke. He's a clown figure. Unfortunately, he's a clown with the largest nuclear arsenal in the history of the world. That's a problem. And also a genocidal freak. Let's not beat around the bush. That's exactly what he is. Also, this is a complete distraction from the topic at hand, but I do just want to go back before I forget. Are we going to ignore the fact that you were on the same poster as Alexei Sale there? Amazing.
Yes,
I couldn't let that slip. Just like, oh, that's so nonchalant. I'm just doing an event with Alexei Sale, it's fine.
Did not expect that to randomly come up there. Yes.
Sorry.
I don't know if I'm going to meet him though, but It would be nice to. I'll try.
If you do, tell him to subscribe to my YouTube.
I'll get him to, if I can try and get him to record that song he made of Keir Starmer.
Oh, that'd be
that
amazing.
Would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So actually, people should make sure they tune into that because there's going to be some really good guests. We're hearing that Martin Ford might be there. I would really like to interview him and ask him his thoughts about obviously Starmer ignoring the Ford report. So go to yourshow.uk to find out more because it's not just turn left, it's an entire operation and it's really, really like polished. Like we got a proper studio. I've seen the set of the studio now. It's fucking banging. And it's really professional stuff, so go check it out. I think that probably leads us perfectly onto the comment section actually.
Yes.
Let's bring in Ben. How are we?
Yeah, pretty good. You haven't shown me the studio. I want to find out about the studio now. I'm curious.
I will.
Damn. Sorry for some of the pauses there. By the way, I meant to bring Curtis back in a little bit quicker than I actually managed to because my mouse kept dying on me. Don't buy. Yeah, don't buy a rechargeable mouse. They are honestly not worth it. I was just like, oh. Great! I now can't move my mouse to do anything, so I had to quickly plug it in order to bring Curtis back on. Okay, cool. Let's get to some of the comments. We'll start with, as ever, with some of the super chats and stuff. I want to say it's
hello, welcome,
Gabby Mutse. So I'm going to just say Dr. Moog. Yeah. Welcome to the Turn Left team. We really appreciate you becoming a member. Rachel Atwood gave $2. I don't know if that's, I don't know what currency it is exactly, but dollars of some kind. Are you getting microchipped like house pets now? Yes, that is the situation in the UK. Do not come here. It is wild. Yes.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm not going to make any comments about that, Curtis. Carl gifted 5 Turn Left memberships. And we also have Journeying Jordan, who I haven't seen before, so welcome to the Turn Left chat. Says Sex Matters have spent a lot of time petitioning for birth gender to be on the digital, or birth sex to be on the digital ID cards, outing trans people. So is this going to become the toilet ID card? I'll let you guys answer that.
Got to say, very interesting, because I did not think about that whatsoever. What a really important point. This is another policy which is going to harm trans people potentially. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of a funny answer to that, but there isn't one. That's fucking terrifying. All I can say is we need to stop it. We need to stop all of this. It's bad for everybody, including transphobes. Because they don't realise it, but they'll just, all it'll take is a shift in the Overton window and they'll be terrorists.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Also, as the rot gets deeper and people get more and more obsessive about like outing trans people, the intersex people will be affected. And I'm willing to bet that there are a lot of transphobes who are actually intersex people who might find that they don't want their biological information printed on a digital ID.
Having online spats with transphobes, a lot of them don't really believe in intersex.
Yeah, it's insane.
Which is obviously fucking insane.
Yeah. Wild. So we've got more super chats. Coops with a tenner said, or it might be co-ops. Sorry about that. Because it's Friday and it's been a tough week in politics. At least Turn Left have been there with us. Thank you so much. You are an absolute star.
That comment is that's a really nice comment. I really appreciate that.
Really lovely. And Grant Sloan gave £5 and says, including Ireland, I believe 5 countries will arrest Netanyahu on his ICC arrest warrant. Should be a lot more. Do either of you have?
Absolutely should be. On his flight to go and speak, his absurd, random shite at the UN today. He overflew both Greek and Italian airspace, and they should have downed his plane. Not downed his plane, like shot it down. I mean, like brought his plane in and arrested him because they're the signatories to the ICC.
A literal fugitive went to the United Nations. A fugitive of genocide. It's
also, the United Nations need to grow a backbone. You can't have the United States government deciding who can and can't turn up. No.
Yeah, I know.
If they're an official delegate of a UN-recognised state, they get to go there, or we move to somewhere that isn't full of wankers.
We have to applaud the UN delegates who stood up and left when Netanyahu took his speech, though.
Yeah.
So hats off to them. That's the minimum you should be doing. But at least some did. Others stayed like cowards. I think if you stayed,
including
in
the
that seat,
British delegation.
Oh, of course,
obviously,
of course. I don't care
Also,
if you want to. I don't care if you recognise Palestine as a state. If you're still going to arm them or arm Israel,
he's a mentalist. Did you see he had a QR code on him? Not like on him as in on his person, like literally on his thing. He was like, you need to zoom. Yeah, seriously, go and watch it. It's mental. He had like a patch on his like black jacket or whatever, right? And it was a QR code which takes you to some weird like Zionist
Hamas
death porn fucking video thing. Like he just like, what are you doing? You are the head of, well, not head of state technically, head of government. Like, have some. I mean, stop doing a genocide firstly. Yeah, but also stop being fucking weird.
Turns out if you commit genocide, you're also a very weird person. So
it's a thing that
it's a thing. It's a
thing.
I
don't want to out all weird people because you can be weird without doing genocide.
Oh, absolutely.
But you can't do genocide without being weird.
Yeah.
It's an unusual activity, genocide.
Yeah. Curtis, you're muted, by the way.
Good.
I was muted for ages. I was saying, I don't know. Okay, I was saying that not all weirdos are genociders, but all genociders are weirdos.
True.
How long was I muted for, actually?
That whole conversation.
Not long enough.
I committed to a lot of things in that conversation.
You've been muted for that entire time. I don't know why you've come off mute now. Me and Kev have been handling this.
Why can't I hear Curtis? I can't hear Curtis. I can't hear him. What's he saying?
No, I can't hear him either.
I can hear his mouth
smell. Fucking hell, I'm such an adult. 13, I can't believe it.
Okay, right, cool. Moving on to the comments, the starred comments. Okay, so I thought this was quite good. The FPL podcast said, "Is that the guy who I always hear in Helena's videos?" Almost said voice.
That would be me.
I
Yes.
think you said that on another video. Kevin was in as well, and someone was like, "It's Kevin."
I am the disembodied voice you will occasionally hear swearing on Helena's show. Yeah.
Yes, and by the way, their coverage of Question Time is absolutely top tier. Best way to watch Question Time.
Yeah,
just bar none.
I retired from watching.
Stick with me after this because I'll be watching it. Yeah. Because I couldn't do it with Helena yesterday because I've been banned on Twitch, which means if we did the show, that would technically be her enabling ban evasion, and she'd get struck down as well. So.
Well, there you go. I mean, we're going to raid into Kevin anyway, so after the show, don't go anywhere. We're going to fly you over, and you can watch Question Time.
If you want to hear me call Richard Tice the C word many times, stick with me.
Superb. So Alex Player said, so Streeting's definitely out of the running then. What do we think about the relationship between Andy Burnham, Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting at the moment?
I mean, it's who sort of cares in some respects. Like Andy Burnham is the only one, I think, realistically, that could retain his seat after the next election. So who gives a shit? And that's saying he doesn't even have a seat yet, and yet he's the only one I can see having a seat after the next election in a parliament he currently isn't sitting in.
Yeah, so I don't think it's streeting out the running in terms of because Andy Burnham's there. One, Andy Burnham has to get a seat. That's not going to happen. And two, Andy Burnham's going to lose. Wes Streeting is going to lose a seat. Well, so they're going to parachute him somewhere else.
No, I think Burnham will. If he wanted a seat in Manchester, I think he'd win in a by-election. Yeah. Again, any other Labour candidate might struggle. But in Manchester, and that person might be the only place that I would be confident of a Labour win in the entire country. And I mean, literally, the safest seat they could possibly have, I wouldn't be confident of them winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Said, I wouldn't say I'm super excited about Burnham leading Labour, but he'd clearly be better than Starmer. And the longer Starmer stays in power, the weaker they'll be in the next election. What do we think of this as a consideration? Like the longer Starmer stays in?
That is exactly, I don't want to disagree on everything, but that is almost exactly where I'm at.
True, but you took the, dare I say it, the accelerationist approach of saying, but it's good that Labour are being undermined. Whereas I think if we're going to do electoral politics, As much as I hate the Labour Party.
I don't necessarily believe that. I was kind of putting it there as a question. Though. I think because I do think it's. I think it's a thought-provoking conversation about. I do think it's in terms of utility. Andy Burnham being leader would slightly shift Labour to the left, could move the Overton window.
Yeah.
But I think the Labour Party is a sinking ship anyway. Just how I think that Jeremy Corbyn stuck a big, massive plaster on the Labour Party in 2015. They did get 40%. I think Andy Burnham represents that, where it's going to die anyway. Andy Burnham might just stop it for a while. Whereas given that Keir Starmer is so unpopular, it is good for small left-wing parties. I don't know if I would say it's necessarily accelerationist, but I do think that there is a question of...
I was being a little bit tongue-in-cheek there.
You were being a little bit tongue-in-cheek because you're a little cheeky man.
I am a cheeky man.
But yeah, no, I'll let you go on.
Well, no, I was just going to say, the one thing that I want to avoid at the next election is a majority for the Reform Party, which, by the way, you have the power in your hands, Keir Starmer, to institute electoral reform, which would stop that from happening. But no, you're not going to do that. So if Burnham can come in, and even if he loses the election, if he can stop it from being a Reform majority, I think that has some efficacy to it, worthwhile for the people of the country. Potentially. I mean, it could be that it's too. Can you not breathe so loudly into the microphone, please, Mr. Cog? Good Lord.
I'll think about it.
You need to get an audio game.
I'll give it some thought.
Is this ASMR? And also, by the way,
yes,
if Burnham was lead, if Burnham was lead, I wouldn't vote for them because I'm not going to vote for a party that has facilitated genocide.
No, exactly. Look, this is without question. There's no one in the world that could, even if Corbyn came back as the leader now, I wouldn't vote for them. No.
Yeah, that is the thing, isn't it? See, I kind of am in an accelerationist position where I want the Labour Party to do as badly as possible because I want it to be such a poison chalice that they never consider going back to the right of their party ever again. Like I don't want them to ever consider it as a possibility. I want it to be as poisonous, if not more poisonous, as the Lib Dems and tuition fees. Like every time the Lib Dems and tuition fees gets brought up, the Lib Dem in question has to sort of wince and go, well, that was a long time ago. And we've moved on. We're a different party now. And I want that to be the reaction when they consider going to the right. We have many great commentators here at Turn Left. Oh, go on.
I was just going to say on a quick point, I was genuinely a little bit moved by the death of Min Campbell today. A man who actually took on a principal position to oppose the Iraq War. And you know, I think that's worth mentioning.
It's very apt when Blair is also in a lot of the discussions today.
Yeah, and also just to kind of an example that the people who opposed the Iraq War came out of that looking very, very good, and those that didn't, very much didn't. Bear that in mind next time the warmongers bang the drums for wanting to bomb a place. Just be on the right side of history.
Absolutely. And not to rub it in your face, Kev, but as soon as I did the ASMR bit, 2 people put Cog should do ASMR in the chat. I'm just saying.
Turn Left is a cult, so you're going to get outvoted on that because the rest of the team are going to be like, no, we ain't doing that. I could be wrong, though, to be fair. It might be very popular. I can get outvoted.
Yeah. We have many great commenters, including commentators is what I meant, including Sarah Dalal, who put in the chat at one point, what's that spanner thing on my name? That's the mod powers.
You're a spanner. No, it doesn't.
Oh, love you lot, Sarah. Good to see you. And Tic Tac Music, I just thought was interesting, said, I have a pet fox who grasps the situation better than Starmer. I think that's a fairly good read of where Starmer is at in terms of political.
Is that a marijuana plant in their PFP? Because I will not have this kind of degeneracy.
Oh, you know, it's funny you should say that. People in the chat have been saying that the plant behind Curtis looks like a marijuana plant. People who I don't think I've seen a marijuana plant before, but I suppose it's blurry. So yeah, I'll be kind to them and say it's blurry. Okay.
It's also not real.
And Michael says, Can't believe Curtis didn't delay for me.
I'm sorry, Michael. And also, I pinned that one because this is slander. What Michael said in the Discord is he said, "Can Curtis host tonight? Because did you say your son is at an event and he isn't finishing till 7:30, and Curtis will be late?" And I'm like, that is slander. I'm the one who's on time. It's Lewis Aaron. Lewis Aaron is the late one. I am.
All I'll say is,
hurt and appalled.
Okay, you did send me the link to this a minute before we were due to go live.
Yeah, but that's because I know that you're live on your end, and we can't have the secret chats behind closed doors. Some of us might slip up and say something naughty.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. The secret chat behind closed doors this time was Curtis going, "Someone in Discord said that I was late." So there's your behind the scenes moment for you. Specs Bean Farmer said the Labour right don't seem to comprehend that time moves forward from the early 2000s. I absolutely agree. Becca said in relation to the digital ID cards, this is so stupid, such a waste of time. Where's this free school breakfast? They can't even finish one thing before the next crap idea. It's sickening. How do we end up with such shit leaders? And it does sort of beg the question, there's so many policies that they could implement that would be so much more popular than this and less expensive. Why have they gone for this as a policy platform?
Because Tony Blair won't fuck off.
I mean, as you eloquently put it, it's literally true though. Because it's like, why are they starting this expensive thing which doesn't solve any problems, and it wasn't a problem to be solved? And it's simply because of Tony Blair. Because this, I think it's really important. Why I think this is such an important thing is that 20 years on, Tony Blair has still been pushing for this. Yeah. Now, if it was just something that could solve everyday problems and make your life a little bit easier, why would he push for this so hard? He isn't pushing for it because it's a simple way of keeping your information together. He's pushing it so hard because, let's be honest, he absolutely wants private corporations taking your data. And they already do, by the way. I'm under no illusion, but he wants to be the one, right? Yeah. It's going to be Oracle and Tony Blair taking all your information, locking you up if you say that Blair should be in The Hague. And by the way, you should be in the fucking Hague.
Yeah, he really should be.
Yeah. Sorry, that made it sound like I disagree because I said it slowly. I was just reading a comment. But Coop said you can't stop the black economy in relation to the digital ID cards.
Well, that's racist.
Just making... Yeah, I know, right? Honestly, the comments.
Boomer. That's a boomer joke.
So, yeah, you can't stop the black economy. You're just making every taxpayer give money to a private company, your personal and private info. Yeah, I think that's definitely true. The way I was putting it earlier is like, you know who doesn't require a work permit for you to work for them? County lines gangs. They don't care.
True.
You can work for them with no... And if you put people in a position where they're desperate...
Is this a shout-out you're giving to them now?
Yes, yeah, I'm just giving a quick shout-out to my mates. No, it's like... Whenever you try and force people into poverty in order to... when workhouses were introduced, you saw gangs in Victorian London. It's because when you try to increase poverty and force people into poverty, you make them vulnerable to other forms of exploitation, particularly gang exploitation.
Well, it's not even just exploitation, to use the kind of sociological term. If you kick people out of the regular economy and you give them no opportunities to thrive either in terms of education or economics through normal paths, they will create their own dual structure, usually criminal, but whatever, and do that instead, because people aren't going to just sit down and be like, clamped down on in that way. They will find alternative routes. So, it's the old thing about, those that make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. Those that make peaceful, legal advance in life impossible make criminality inevitable.
Thank you, JFK.
It's well said, though. Well said. I like it. So Benji, who I couldn't ascertain whether Benji was of the right or just a leftist who was just critical of the rest of the left, said the left is a complete mess and quite frankly an embarrassment. I didn't mark this comment. I think Curtis might have. Curtis, what did you want to say?
That could be either.
So No. So Benji, I think some subsequent comments is of the right. And when we were talking about ID cards, and I highlighted this comment because I don't know if Benji's still watching. I doubt it. I haven't seen you for a while. But the point I want to make is, no, the neoliberals are a complete mess, not the left. Now, of course, the left are a mess and an embarrassment for our own reasons. But in terms of the Labour Party, they are not left-wing. The things that you hate, the things that you think are left-wing, are not left-wing. And actually, left-wing politics is far more popular than whatever neoliberal shit they put out there.
Can you not swear on my channel, please? This is outrageous.
Poop. I'm 32 years old. Sorry.
Definitely 32 years old.
You know what? I'm going to have to contact Alexei Sale and tell him, do you know what kind of platform you're giving to this degenerate? Outrageous.
Yes. There's been some criticism in the chat of Navarra, and I think Navarra have sort of tried to give both sides, and people haven't liked them sticking up for digital IDs in any form, because I do understand where those people are coming from, because it is just a crap idea. And sometimes you do have to just be like...
Yeah, what's the left-wing defence of ID cards exactly?
Yeah, I don't think there is one, and I think that's why it's... I think they've had to make a fairly right-wing defence. But Becca did say, I suppose it encourages discussion. Like, I love Turn Left, but sometimes the hosts do agree. And it's like an agreeing festival, and that is 100% a criticism that I'm willing to take on.
So I start that one. I know you're the producer, but I found a lot of comments on what to star up. First of all, because I watch Navarra, and a lot of the time, especially Michael, like, I don't agree with everything he says, but they will play devil's advocate. And when I play devil's advocate, sometimes they'll go, "Why did you say that?" It's like, I don't actually believe that. It's devil's advocate. I brought up this comment because I think you're right, Becca, and I do think that's something we should try. It's not always easy to do, but it's something we should try and do to get dissenting voices. Because the left doesn't agree on everything, and I do notice a pattern where it can be a kind of agreeing fest. So
okay, I'll do. Fuck you, Becca. No, it's not. See,
there you go. But but I appreciate it, because it's not like I haven't thought about this before. Because I've seen some people on the left say they're not that opposed to ID cards. But of course, I think we're a bit not selective. We have a lack of choice given how small we are. It's not like we can reach out to someone and be like, right, we know they have this view on it, they're going to come on our show. They're like, who the fuck is Turn Left? So I want to highlight that because I think it's a good observation, and I do agree with that. Sorry for agreeing, actually. I fucking disagree.
The irony.
I need to disagree with another one of your viewers. I don't sound like John Peel. Fuck off.
John Peel?
I get this a lot. Apparently, I sound like John Peel, the late, great John Peel. I don't think I do, but I've had that. That's like the millionth time someone has said that.
I've never heard of this person. Should I know who he is?
John, the radio DJ.
Oh, I don't really listen to the radio.
Well, he's dead now, so you wouldn't matter if you listened to the radio now.
Well, I disagree with you.
Well, I disagree that you disagree. I think we agree, actually. So there you go. It's a paradox. Woo-hoo! Anyway, yeah, he was very famous, and he was involved in like the Glastonbury Festival and Radio Caroline and all that shit.
Never heard of him.
60s and 70s. He was very popular, very, very well known Radio 1 DJ. And anyway, apparently I sound like him, and I don't think I do.
But... So, someone in the chat did very briefly come on. I won't bother bringing their comment up, but said, go ahead and block me then, because I mean every word. We stand with Keir Starmer, and that is, to this day, the only supportive comment of Keir Starmer that I've ever seen in our chat. Why did that person
get blocked?
Ever.
He's a lonely Keir Starmer supporter.
That was definitely Keir Starmer, by the way.
Yeah, it was Keir Starmer.
Yeah, that was Keir Starmer himself.
Going around going, hey, some of us still like him. Oh, no, I did this on... and block them. I feel a bit. I don't really feel bad for you support Keir Starmer, but I would have been nice to have a bit of back and forth with some, because what we get is we'll get people who agree with us in the chat, or we'll get some like literal deranged like right winger. I prefer debating neoliberals and Labour people than the right because it's more fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love debating. I'm trying to get a debate with either oh God, I've forgotten the fucking Graham Hughes or the different bias guy. because they're
Phil from A Different Bias and who's the one who hasn't
either one of them, because I've debated Bowler Hat Man twice.
Yeah,
now. That was fun. Like
it's very fun.
They're so it's indefensible.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ, it's so bad.
I would love to see that. Please do it.
Yes. I was losing my mind the other day because Phil was on what was it, the Sunday Roast, and I like the guys from the Sunday Roast, nothing against them.
Oh yes, they're cool.
Yeah, Phil said Phil said that the Green Party were or rather Zach Polanski was coming forward, and he was proposing taxing wealth, and instead he should focus on taxing assets that people can't move. That's the way you do smart taxation policy. And I'm like, dude, you have not listened to a fucking thing that Zach Polanski's been saying. That is literally what he's been saying.
You know, he needs to tax hypnoboob.
True.
Fact.
I did see someone on Twitter like, guys, did you know that Zach Polanski did this? And it's like, okay, so first of all, that's all been and gone. Everyone knows that, and people don't care. Actually, they give a fuck.
No one gives a fuck.
Yeah.
Like, I know you're literally, you can't afford to feed your family, and your grandma's going to freeze to death this winter and all the rest of it. But have you considered hypnoboob? No one cares. No one gives a fuck.
I care because it's quite funny. It's quite good to make make
it's
jokes
good
about.
Memes. It's solid memes, but like in terms of winning or losing a single vote, it won't make it.
By the way, sorry, I need to flash this up. Is this true? Because that would be really bad.
Fucking hell, I hope not.
Let's check that.
So your first introduction to John Peel is he might be a nonce.
According to Digital Spy Forum, 2014, DM alleges underage sex committed by John Peel.
Oh, for fuck's sake! That was me thinking, I sound like a kind of niche, old school like celebrity. No, it turns out I have the voice of a.
There's a independent headline below it, which is so insane, but I don't want to read it out because I'll get clipped.
Yeah, maybe
I'm
don't.
Not gonna do it.
Maybe don't. It's great when you think you sound like a niche old school celebrity, but you don't find out until later on that the celebrity you sound like is Jimmy Savile. So you don't, by the way, Kev. You're fine.
No, you don't.
Now then.
Oh,
you do.
So Edward Sexby said the PA is a collaborationist. I can't say that comprador structure as it is. This is such BS. I'm firmly in agreement with that. I wanted to get your thoughts, and this will be the last comment as well.
Fair enough. I mean, the problem is, of course, if you get rid of both Hamas and PA, what representation do the Palestinian people even have then? Is it just going to be Tony Blair as the emir handing down diktat to them? Like what happened?
I don't think Edward is saying that. I think he's saying that.
No, I know. I'm not criticizing Edward's take at all. He's absolutely correct. I'm just saying, like, in a situation as bad as that is, ultimately you have to kind of pick your battles, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is that this just shows how far we're gone when the PA isn't a radical group. And you've got forces from TBI saying, we want to diminish the PA. Because basically what they want is a respectable representative of Palestine, which is basically agreed with Israel, agreed with the US, agreed with the UK.
What they want is basically an Arab Keir Starmer.
Oh, what, sorry?
An Arab Keir Starmer.
An Arab Keir Starmer. But actually, Israel Israel think that Keir Starmer's an anti-Semite now because he said that Britain is going to recognise the Palestinian state. They've now come out and said Jews are fleeing the country. Keir Starmer wants to harm the Jews, and it's like, fuck off.
Good little byproduct of this whole tit-for-tat fucking nonsense is that apparently Israel are preparing to recognise the Falklands Islands as owned by Argentina. As a retaliation, which, you know what, based.
I've brought this up because I think Ben missed it, but I've done this because we're not deliberately leaving anything. I don't know what comment it was though.
Oh, what does that refer to? No, I don't know. I don't know what comment it refers to.
Take me to your leader, but I don't know.
Was it the thing about John Peel? Because we definitely covered that.
About John Peel. I'm scrolling up and I don't know. There's been hundreds of comments now. I don't know if I'm going to find you.
Oh, I just had a horrible thought. He was famous for popularising the song Teenage Kicks by the Undertones as well.
Ooh. I was going to make a joke, but...
Which, exactly, because it's a nonce, that's not as cute anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you search people by name?
Yeah, you can search people by name. I don't know which...
By the way, Take Me to a Leader, you're getting special treatment because we've never, ever name searched anyone for a comment. So
yeah,
it better be a good one.
The UN. It must be this comment. So... apparently the UN is a capitalist project. John D. Rockefeller gifted the UN land in New York to build their HQ. Is this just the Jews did it thing? Is that where you're going with this?
Well, I was about to say that's
that
obviously not
true.
Do you know the reason that it's actually based in America was because of Joseph Stalin, right?
Yeah,
literally true. He wanted to ensure that America didn't do the same thing they did with the League of Nations, and so by basing it in the United States, they would basically have to join and stick with it because it's in the United States. It'd be really embarrassing if everyone turned up and America didn't turn up to their own country. So he was the one that basically convinced the Americans to host the UN.
I also can't see. I mean, I've just searched it. I can't see anything that refers to John Rockefeller and the UN.
I'm getting the feeling that this person might just be a crazy anti-Semite.
This might be JQing. Anyway, we brought up your comment. We're not ignoring it, but you might be JQing that.
Some evidence for that.
The idea that you're ignoring my fantastically cited sourced point that I made.
I just googled it and there's no link. There's no link to that.
Like, you're ignoring the great point that I smeared in shit on the side of someone's house. Like, no, it's fucking nonsense.
It might well be that there's like some link there, but if so, the time to believe that is when you can cite like proper historical sources and evidence for it. I can't just take a sort of like, well, they're vaguely linked or whatever. JQing is Jewish questioning, is the sort of like using anti-Semitic conspiracy theories essentially, and you've got to be careful nowadays about using the word anti-Semitism because it can be. Unfortunately, be seen as a.
To be fair to Take Me to Your Leader, John Rockefeller was not Jewish, but the Rockefellers.
Oh, I'm thinking of a Rothschild. Yes, sorry, I'm getting those two mixed up.
So did you just smear one of our viewers?
I did. I apologise. Take Me to Your Leader. But either way, you still do need citation in order for us to.
Yeah. Probably. Yeah. You need citation, but again, Rockefeller, if he did found the UN, what's the point, or what was the comment? Like, why couldn't we speak about it?
And this is the problem. I think we're getting lost in the source.
We're getting lost in the source.
Yeah,
we shouldn't be railroading our own show.
Yeah, we will bring everything to a close. Thank you for your guys' time on the comments. Cool. Appreciate you both.
Thank you so much, Ben, for producing in the comments. But of course, that is all we have time for. Thank you to all of our viewers who tune in. Of course, thank you to Kevin for joining me tonight.
Thank you for having me on.
But you will still be going live on your show.
I will.
So everyone watching, don't go anywhere. We're going to magically transport you over. Don't know why I said that, but we are where we are. Now, if you want us to grow, then you can head over to turnleftmedia.co.uk/support. There is a link to our Patreon where you can support us monthly or follow the other link to give us a one-time contribution. Alternatively, you can become a YouTube member for just 99p. Thank you so much. Catch me on Monday live from Liverpool covering the Labour Party conference. That's at 8:10 until 9 p.m. So thank you everyone who tuned in, and I'll see you next time.